You meet someone at a party, and within seconds something clicks. You have no idea why. They have not done anything particularly impressive yet. They have barely spoken. But something underneath your conscious thinking has already fired off a signal that says, pay attention to this person. Here is the unsettling truth. Most of what drives human attraction has nothing to do with the reasons you tell yourself afterward. Researchers in social psychology and neuroscience have spent decades untangling the real forces behind that pull, and what they have found overturns almost everything we assume about how attraction works. It is not primarily about physical beauty standards, shared interests, or even personality. It runs much deeper than that, down into biological signals your brain is decoding without ever telling you, unconscious pattern matching against your entire history of relationships, and physical cues so subtle they operate below the threshold of normal perception. Over the next several minutes, you are going to learn why your immune system influences who you find attractive, why the timing of when you meet someone can completely reshape how you feel about them, how your nervous system quietly synchronizes with another person before you have exchanged a single word, and why the people who feel most familiar to you are sometimes the ones your brain has flagged as safe based on completely irrational criteria. None of this means attraction is fake or meaningless. It means it is far more ancient, far more complex, and far more interesting than a simple checklist of preferences. Let us start with something that sounds almost too strange to be true. In the early 1990s, Swiss biologist Klaus Wedekind ran an experiment that has since become one of the most cited studies in attraction research. He asked a group of men to wear plain white t-shirts for 2 days without using any scented products. Then he had a group of women smell each shirt and rate which ones they found most appealing. The results were striking. Women consistently preferred the scent of men whose immune system genes, specifically a cluster called the Major Histocompatibility Complex, or MHC, were most different from their own. They were not just picking randomly, they were detecting genetic compatibility through smell without knowing it. The evolutionary logic is elegant. When two people with different immune gene profiles have children, those children inherit a broader, more diverse immune defense. The body has essentially built a detection system that nudges you toward partners who would produce healthier offspring, and it disguises that system as a pleasant smell. What makes this even more fascinating is that the effect reverses for women who are taking hormonal contraceptives. Their scent preferences shift toward men with similar MHC profiles, which is essentially the opposite of what evolutionary biology would favor for reproduction. Some researchers have speculated this could have real-world relationship consequences, though that line of research is still developing. The core finding, however, has been replicated multiple times. Your nose is running an immune system compatibility check on everyone around you, completely without your knowledge or consent. And that is just the beginning of the subconscious machinery running beneath every moment of attraction. Here is a question worth sitting with. Would you feel the same way about the people you love most if you had met them at a different moment in your life? Psychology suggests the answer is almost certainly no, and the reason comes down to a concept called state-dependent emotion, combined with something researchers call misattribution of arousal. In a now famous 1974 study by Donald Dutton and Arthur Aaron, male participants were approached by an attractive researcher either on a stable, low bridge or on a high, swaying suspension bridge that generated real physical anxiety. The men on the scary bridge were significantly more likely to call the researcher afterward and rate her as more attractive. Their bodies were already in a state of heightened physiological arousal from the fear, and their brains misread part of that excitement as romantic interest. The arousal was real. The source their brains assigned it to was wrong. This is not just a quirky lab result. It explains why people often develop intense feelings for others they meet during emotionally charged periods, a difficult move to a new city, a period of loss or recovery, the shared adrenaline of a new job or adventure. Your brain is not just evaluating the person in front of you, it is evaluating that person blended together with whatever emotional state you happen to be in. The context literally becomes part of how you experience them. This is one of the reasons some relationships formed under intense circumstances feel so electrically alive, and also why they sometimes collapse once ordinary life resumes. The charge was partly borrowed from the situation itself. Long before two people decide they like each other, their nervous systems may already be having a conversation. Research into interpersonal synchrony, the tendency for people to unconsciously align their physiology and behavior with those around them, has produced some genuinely striking findings. Studies have shown that during positive social interactions, people begin to synchronize their breathing patterns, their postural shifts, and even measurable fluctuations in their heart rate variability. This is not a conscious choice. It happens automatically, and it happens faster with people we feel drawn to. The brain system often credited with enabling this kind of mirroring is the mirror neuron network. a set of neural circuits that activate both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing the same action. This system is thought to underlie empathy, imitation learning, and social bonding. When you feel an inexplicable sense of ease and familiarity with someone you have just met, part of what you may be detecting is that your nervous system is finding it easy to sync with theirs. Your brain is essentially saying this person's rhythms feel compatible with mine. Interestingly, researchers studying couples have found that long-term partners show higher degrees of physiological synchrony than strangers, and that the more synchronized a couple is, the more satisfied they tend to report feeling in the relationship. Synchrony appears to be both a signal of connection and a builder of it. Every time two people laugh at the same moment, lean the same direction, or unconsciously match each other's pace while walking, they are reinforcing a biological bond that the rational mind had no hand in creating. So what do you actually do with all of this? Knowing that attraction is built from immune signals, misattributed arousal, unconscious mirroring, and dozens of other hidden processes does not mean you are helpless in the face of it. In fact, understanding the machinery gives you a quiet kind of power. When you feel an intense pull towards someone you have just met during a stressful or emotionally charged time, you can pause and ask yourself how much of this feeling belongs to them and how much belongs to the situation. That question alone can save you from misreading genuine compatibility versus borrowed adrenaline. Understanding synchrony means you can be more intentional about creating the conditions for real connection, shared activities, conversations that require genuine listening, environments that lower stress and encourage openness. Research consistently shows that people feel more connected after doing novel or mildly challenging things together. Not because of the challenge itself, but because physiological synchrony builds faster under those conditions. And perhaps most importantly, the science of attraction is a reminder that the stories we tell ourselves afterward about why we chose someone are almost always incomplete. The brain is a meaning-making machine. It will construct a convincing narrative about your feelings. But underneath that narrative, there are ancient biological systems doing work you will never fully see. That is not something to be unsettled by. It is something to be genuinely curious about, because the more honestly you understand how your mind works, the more clearly you can see your own life. If this kind of deep dive into the psychology behind everyday human experience is the kind of content you want more of, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. There is a lot more of this waiting for you.